Nacht Der Untoten is one of those rare gaming moments where you truly had to be there. If you didn't experience it in 2008, at 2 a.m., alone in your bedroom with the lights off, you will never fully understand why this tiny bunker changed everything. Because the thing people forget is that Zombies wasn't advertised. No trailers, no teases, no social media campaigns. You finished World at War's campaign, a brutal, grounded WW2 story, the credits rolled, and you thought you were done. And then suddenly you wake up in a dimly lit bunker with a pistol, boarded windows, and something growling outside. No context, no warning, no explanation, just fear. For so many players, that memory is burned into their minds. You're sitting there, probably in middle school or high school, the TV glow lighting up your face. It's late, everyone in the house is asleep, and all you hear is the rumbling of thunder in-game and the distant sound of zombies pounding on the walls. You weren't prepared for it. Nobody was. It didn't feel like a normal game mode. It felt like you stumbled into something secret. And that's why Nacht Der Untoten hit so hard. It wasn't just a zombies map. It was a moment, a discovery, a completely unexpected shift in tone. Overnight, Call of Duty went from a gritty war shooter to one of the most iconic horror co-op experiences ever made, simply because Treyarch decided, why not, and hid this mode behind the credits. There was nothing else like it at the time. No perks, no pack-a-punch, no Easter eggs, no elaborate storylines, just a concrete bunker, a foggy night sky, and an endless struggle to survive. Looking back today, it seems simple, almost too simple. But in 2008, that simplicity was exactly why it worked. It felt real, in a way that later maps, with their supernatural upgrades and dimensional travel, never quite captured again. And a big part of the impact came from World at War itself. Zombies in that game sounded different. They screeched, they snarled, they made genuine horror noises, not the more stylized audio we'd get in later games. Their footsteps echoed strangely, their attacks were unpredictable. And because Nacht was so small, the sounds bounced off the walls, making everything feel close. Too close. Anyone who played in those early years remembers that sense of panic when a window broke behind you, or when the mystery box gave you another bolt-action rifle instead of the one weapon you needed. The tension didn't come from complicated mechanics, it came from the feeling that you were locked inside that bunker with no way out. And for many players, that first night felt like the peak of the mode, the purest version of what Zombies was meant to be. Of course, as the years went on and new maps released, Nacht's weaknesses became obvious. Compared to Verrucht or Der Riese, the map is limited. 3 rooms, a few wall guns, and a mystery box location that either saves you or ruins your night. But even when people acknowledged how small and bare bones it was, they couldn't deny the atmosphere. There's something about Nacht that feels authentic. The lighting, the German bunker architecture, the lack of music, and the way the fog outside the windows makes you feel isolated, it all creates a tone that even larger, more advanced maps struggle to match. A lot of the community nostalgia comes from the era itself. This was back when people played split screen, passed the controller around to see who could last the longest, or stayed up way too late telling themselves, just one more round. You'd be sitting there with your friend, trying to rebuild windows as fast as possible, panicking when the zombies started sprinting in round 4, and laughing when someone opened the wrong door. There was no strategy guide, no YouTube tutorials, no meta. You learned by failing. And that's something modern players sometimes miss. Nacht wasn't solved. It wasn't studied. It was experienced. Every attempt felt unpredictable because the mode was still new, and nobody knew the limits. That made early Nacht's atmosphere unforgettable. It didn't need a story. The environment told you everything. Something went wrong here, and you're the next victim. But nostalgia and reality don't always agree. If you strip away the memories, the map itself is incredibly basic. It's small, it's punishing, it's repetitive. If you give this map to someone who started with Black Ops 3 or Cold War, they'll wonder where the features are. They'll ask why there's no Juggernog. They'll check for an Easter egg, and eventually they'll say something like, "This is it?" and that's completely fair. Nacht didn't evolve with the rest of the mode. It stayed exactly what it was in 2008, while the rest of Zombies expanded into massive adventures with quests, bosses, storylines, and entire worlds. But that doesn't mean Nacht became irrelevant. If anything, it became a reminder of where everything started. Comparing original Nacht to something like Die Machine makes that clear. Die Machine takes the core idea, an abandoned bunker, and builds an entire facility around it. There are upgrades, objectives, intel, portals, and different ways to play. You can complete a story quest or exfil and escape. Die Machine is designed to give the player options. Nacht never cared about options, it cared about survival and nothing else. And that contrast is why Nacht still resonates today. It represents a time when Zombies wasn't about progression or quests or narrative complexity. It was about that moment when the last board on a window snaps, when you run out of ammo, when the storm outside rumbles and you wonder how long you can hold out. For some players, that purity is more memorable than any storyline. The High Round community also gave Nacht a strange second life. Despite the map's tiny size, or maybe because of it, High Round runners consider Nacht one of the ultimate tests of skill. No perks, no pack-a-punch, no powerful wonder weapons besides the ray gun, which stops being effective anyway. Surviving in Nacht requires precision and nerves, not equipment. And the world records on this map are remarkable. Thousands of rounds reached by players who have taken the mechanics of World at War to their absolute limits. Even with all its simplicity, Nacht refuses to be forgotten. From 2020 onward, as Zombies modes became more layered and objective-heavy, a lot of players started to appreciate the older maps again. People revisited Nacht not just for nostalgia, but for a reminder of how the mode felt when it was new, mysterious, and slightly unsettling. It has a mood that later maps simply can't manufacture. So, the big question becomes, would Nacht Der Untoten make a top 25 Zombies maps list today? And the answer is yes, but not because of its gameplay depth. Nacht earns its spot for different reasons, because it's iconic, because its atmosphere holds up, because every Zombies feature and storyline traces back to this one bunker, and because countless players still remember the exact moment they first spawned in. Nacht may not be the most advanced map or the most replayable, but it's one of the most meaningful. It represents the beginning of an era, a shared gaming memory, and a style of horror that the series would never fully recreate once the mechanics became more complex. If you were there in 2008, you know exactly what I mean. That late-night feeling, the tension, the confusion, the excitement, the sense that you discovered something the game wasn't ready to explain. Nacht Der Untoten didn't just introduce a mode, it introduced a feeling. And nearly 20 years later, that feeling still matters. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more deep dives. Comment which Zombies map you want us to cover next. This is Element 115 Labs. Thanks for watching.